Welcome to the Biz Kids Podcast. I'm your host, JD Rabali, and this show is where young entrepreneurs, future leaders, and creative thinkers come, learn, grow, and get inspired. This podcast is powered by the Biz Kids Hub, our hands-on training and resource center dedicated to helping kids and teens launch real businesses, develop their confidence, and turn big ideas into action. Whether you're starting out or already making sales, we're here to give you the tools, the tips, the stories that bring business to life. Each week, you'll hear from successful entrepreneurs, industry experts, and even fellow biz kids who are making waves with their ventures. So buckle up because the business journey starts here. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Biz Kids Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about video production. As most of you have seen, we do our Biz Kids pitch competitions where kids get to submit their videos and pitch their ideas for their business. Well, today we have a guest with us, Anthony Santa. He's the head of sports entertainment for Diamond View. They do commercial pieces and video pieces for companies like WWE, NASCAR, Tampa Bay Lightning. And so we're going to get some experience, knowledge from Anthony. So Anthony, as we always like to start off, tell us your 60-second pitch of who you are and what you do.
Awesome. JD, well, thanks for the opportunity. As you mentioned, my name is Anthony Santa, just like Santa Claus, the last name. And so got my start up at Diamond View as a young kid. My childhood friend, Tim Moore, who's the founder of Diamond View, we would put together video packages for church, and oftentimes it was middle school or high school events. And so he always found himself with the creative idea, and I always found myself in front of the camera. And so that relationship grew into starting Diamond View. Tim started it the day after he graduated college, and I joined a few days after I graduated college. And so I've been here for 11 years. And as JD mentioned, I oversee the sports and entertainment department. And so I've been blessed to work with a lot of different leagues and teams. And I also trained in wrestling. So who knows, I might get out my tights and get in the wrestling ring here soon again. But yeah, it's been quite the journey working with Diamond View and working through a lot of different video projects. And so, yeah, excited to take some time and hopefully help out a few of the kids that are involved in the group.
Well, I assume that if you were working with youth groups that and you were doing videos for youth groups, they had to be kind of wild and crazy. I know that my son, when he was in his church youth group, the youth pastor and a bunch of the guys would come over and do wake-up videos of each of the students. So they would come over early in the morning and they would videotape them waking him up in a loud, obnoxious way and getting their reactions. And so that was one of their video picks that they would do. Did you guys do anything wild and crazy or were they more professional?
Yeah, very far from professional, and and it was actually a lot of fun because that was the catalyst for us getting into maybe we should start doing some professional videos. But it was always cool. It always started out with an idea of how do we encourage kids to come to this event. You know, whether it's summer camp or some sort of missions trip, and so. Humor, everyone relates with humor, and so we brainstormed an idea, and then the next day we were out shooting it, and it was anywhere from jumping in a lake to playing with wrestling action figures. I can still remember it like it was yesterday, and so had a good time. But yeah, you're kind of thinking through ideas that oftentimes don't make sense but can bring a smile and then encourage them to be a part of the event.
Well, awesome. So I don't know if you had a chance, but if you get a chance to go to our YouTube channel, it's the Biz Kids Hub. And we have a kid that or a student that did a video. His company's called Roaster Coasters. And it's quite entertaining. He put some humor to it. It made it a lot of fun. So if you get a chance to go to our YouTube channel, check that one out. It's a great one. And the shorts it's in one of the shorts. So it's only 90 seconds. Now, as our kids are out there getting their videos ready to go for the pitch competition, what are kind of some tips and tricks that you would say, hey, this is something you need to think about just for And like I said, we tell people it's a 90-second video. We want to be able to put it in the shorts just to get people's attention on what they're doing, so to draw attention to their business and their product.
Sure. I use this even on our discovery calls with prospective clients and ongoing clients. Is, at the end of the video, what do you want that audience to feel? The end of that presentation, what do you want that audience to feel? And so we kind of, reverse engineer of what that feeling is, whether it's, I want to run through the wall height video. Oftentimes we work with a lot of sports teams that need video content to encourage the fan to like get excited for the game because their favorite players are about to run out into the field. And so I'd start there as, what's the feeling we want that person to, to feel, and then go from there. And at the end of the day, people work off of emotions and connections. And so any way to personalize your story to make it more personable is always going to be a successful component. You might capture things that look cool, that feel cool, but if it doesn't resonate from a story standpoint, oftentimes you can kind of miss the mark. And so it's the same formula that I would encourage them to take is find that story, find that emotional feeling that you're trying to trigger, and pair the two. And so that's still the same formula that we use, from a professional video production company standpoint, that we've been using the past 11 years, and it's continues to work.
Yeah, what I love about commercials is it is storytelling, and that's what you need to get across. A lot of times we fall into, the school mentality of like, hey, we got to explain what we are, who we are, what we do, a real very formal production type of thing. And what I'm trying to get across to kids is we need to, like you said, find the feeling that you want to have your customer have, so they can take action because they want to come out and see you. They want to come out and find out about your product. And so creating that feeling, I think, is really important. When you guys started, I assume you didn't have a lot of professional equipment. What did you start with? Did you start with a phone or a smaller video camera, or where did you start?
Well, I'll tell you what, technology keeps getting better and better, that you could probably start using your phone for professional videos, but that's the trajectory of those phones. But no, Tim Moore, who's the founder of Diamond View, he had a camera, he had a Yaris, and we packed everything in that little Yaris everywhere we went. And, we started out with wedding videos, and then we transitioned into nonprofit organizations. And what's really cool about nonprofit organizations is oftentimes they didn't have the biggest budget, but they had the best stories. And so we just honed in on, part of the pitch for, the upcoming event is to have that story. And so these nonprofit organizations just had the story. They just oftentimes didn't have the budget. And so we were able to capture content and tell those stories. And so that became a portfolio piece for us to showcase to other companies. And, in the beginning, it was going door to door, and I was, rocking a full 3-piece suit. But I wasn't resonating with the clientele because oftentimes they were dressed super casual because we're talking to creatives, right? And so, as I continue to work through that, we started landing more and more opportunities because we started building out spec work. And so we started creating the type of portfolio of projects that we wanted to work on. And so when we first started getting into sports, our plan was, all right, well, let's start producing content on our own that's similar to what we want to get hired for. And so oftentimes I found myself in the uniforms of these different sports organizations and, hide my face and showcase some of the type of footage that we can capture. And so we started, passing those along. And sure enough, in 2017, the Atlanta Braves, they have spring training complex in Orlando at the time. Now they have it in Northport. Half the MLB baseball teams have spring training in Florida, and so we already have a location market for MLB. And so the Atlanta Braves asked us, hey, you guys are close to Orlando, and we're those that are in the area know that we're just I-4 interstate away to Orlando. And so we told them, we're close by, and they had a bobblehead project for us to highlight Chipper Jones, who's a legendary Atlanta Braves player. And so we went over there, and we were able to capitalize and not only produced a high-end product, but got to build relationships with the actual clients, boots on the ground. And we're still, all these years later, it's 2025, and we're still working with the Atlanta Braves. And so that was a catalyst for our sports and entertainment department that I now oversee. And so from start to finish, we started with weddings, and now we're in sports. And we do other types of projects as well, other industries, but sports is kind of what I hone in on the most.
And I love that, you're a business development guy, so you have to go in and build these relationships with these companies, these organizations, to get your foot in the door. What would be one piece of advice that you would say to young people that are trying to get their company noticed, and they don't really understand knocking on doors or cold calls yet? They're just, a lot of our shows are markets where people come to them. But what would you say is are kind of the things you need to focus on to get yourself out there and get yourself noticed?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, as you had mentioned, you already reiterated, it's, in a time where a lot of things could be done through video, there is now more depth to a relationship when it's in person. And so, COVID obviously changed a lot of things and made, hybrid a lot more of a workflow for businesses, and video calls, just like you and I are having, a lot more accessible. But at the end of the day, shaking someone's hands, looking someone in the eye ends up still being a differentiator. And so oftentimes I do try to find myself looking to, fly into these various sports organizations or states or whatever the case may be, and have that face-to-face interaction. And what's cool too is I've seen as you grow as an individual and your product and your services grow, so does the network that you're currently working with. And so a lot of the folks that I first engaged with when I was first coming up, had very entry-level roles, and they found themselves 2, 3, 4 years later taking leadership roles and taking on, more work, more decision-making opportunities. And then this one connection that I had ended up being the lead of the video department. And so now they're calling me first opportunity they can. And so, for me, I think it's like that in person, and also, very personable, and not only telling them about yourself, but also asking thought-provoking questions to them and hearing a little bit more about their story too. At the end of the day, people just want to be, feel connected, and what I want to leave an interaction with is someone not only, enjoying that conversation and saying, hey, I kind of like that guy, but also, building trust as quick as you can. And so being authentic is a big part of that. And so, that's probably the biggest thing I would encourage, up and comers to do.
Was it a tough transition to go from selling weddings on video to going to sports teams, to the head marketing teams of these multi-million-dollar organizations, and say, hey, I done a wedding video. You want to have us do a video for you? So was that a hard transition?
Extremely hard. Extremely hard. And, it's cool to look back at, as you prompted that question, it's cool to look back at, how far we've come. But, as far as getting started, right, how does wedding video correlate with a sold out arena, 60,000 plus, rooting for one team? Where's the common denominator there? And so for me, it had a lot to do with, how was I gonna present ourselves, quote unquote, bigger than what we currently were? And all it took was, the spec pieces, the portfolio, and also a leap of faith from the Atlanta Braves, and that became a catalyst for us. But it was very difficult. Sometimes I miss those days too. It's like we were elbows and elbows trying to figure out, what was our next play and how we were going to get there. And I got denied a ton. And to this day, I still get denied meetings. I get denied, opportunities. Even if you go into the bidding table, that doesn't necessarily mean you land the plane, you land the project, but we take the wins where we can. So, if we get an opportunity to bid it on a potential project and we don't get it, we see, did we show enough for them to come back next year and stuff like that. And so it was definitely a transition period for us to go from selling wedding videos to selling a sports franchise or a league. But it took time. And I'd say the first catalyst for me, aside from the Atlanta Braves giving us an opportunity, was the first time I said a big number. Is probably about 2 years into my career here at Diamond View. Up to that point, most of our videos might have been, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. And this was actually with Miami International Airport and our contact at the time. And we had just finished a good project with them. And so she had asked, she's like, hey, I really like you guys. I like the skill set. I like the energy you guys bring. But most importantly, I like the end product. And so I really want to bring you in and be a part of this future that we have for our video projects. And, what could a collaboration, a partnership look like if we were to work together for an entire year? And at that point, I had never set a number higher than probably like $15,000. And we were on the phone, and I kind of look over at Tim and the vice president at the time, John Davila, and we just threw out the number, and it was $500,000. And I had never said $500,000 in my life. And so I said it for the first time, and of course, like, she pauses, and we're on the phone. I'm not on video, so we're just kind of sitting there, and it's like dead silence. And then she's like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot of money. That's probably too much." And I remember, driving. We were driving to our hotel at the time, and because we were staying that night in Miami. And I remember thinking about that profound moment of just the fact that, like, I said such a high number, and it became like a confidence booster for me that, if your work or the scope backs up what that number is, clients are going to be inclined to move forward on it. And so all that to say, it was with an airport, but it was also a big moment for us to just like say a number that we just always dreamed about, but never like had an opportunity to say it. And ever since that day, I never was fearful to talk about budgets or numbers or anything like that. And so I think that's another pivotal moment, for folks that are building up their businesses. You got to be pretty confident in saying the numbers that back up what your product is.
One of the biggest elements of our program is celebrate the failures. And so that's the hardest thing is, when you do get the rejections over and over and over, especially as you're a new business getting out there and you're knocking on doors and you're trying to get those first initial meetings, it can be devastating to be told no every day. Was there a point in your career where you're like, I don't know if this is the right thing for me? The no's are hard, or were the yeses coming so often that you were like, hey, this is pretty easy?
Yeah, the first year I remember sitting down and thinking, guys, I know we're good friends, and but I don't know if this is quite working out. At that point, I hadn't sold a video. And I had been there for 12 months, a full calendar year. Can you imagine a business development person? Goal is to sell video, and you sell 0 videos in a year. So, but what was cool was, we had talked about it. All right, just give it a couple more months. And then sure enough, a couple more months, one project came through, and then you start to kind of build the confidence from there. And what I've learned too is a lot of people that you connect with, it takes a full calendar year before they come back with, an opportunity or something. And so, you kind of have one chance at showcasing who you are from like an intro call standpoint and kind of going from there. But first year, not successful. And then a couple years later, after that, you start to kind of notice a lot of the people that I had connected with were starting to turn around and giving us calls and stuff. And so then it became a bit of a growth spurt after that. But but yeah,
And, and I can
it's
imagine with the especially with the nonprofits you said that you were working with, they probably weren't even thinking, hey, well, let's do a video project because they didn't have the funds to do it in the beginning, and so it was something they always kind of put off, like, hey, we should be doing this. But when you give them a call and say, hey, I'm a video production guy, let's do this project together. Yeah, it's a whole ordeal to like go, okay, where are we gonna get the money? The board has to approve it.
mhm.
We have to come up with the stories, and so it's not just a let's buy today and have a video tomorrow. It's a whole process to think through that. And so, as a young entrepreneur, you have to think about those things as well. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm getting ready to do a video project. I need to plan this out. This could take. It could be a social media video, which is something you could pop up to get really quick interaction to see if people are interested about it, but it's going to take a while to put a bigger project together. What has been one of the most significant programs that you've done? One video projects that you've done that you've said this is the coolest one I've done.
Yeah, so I grew up. I have a brother, and it's just my brother and I. And I grew up a big wrestling fan. So every Monday, Tuesday night, we're on the couch watching wrestling as a kid, and so we shared a lot of good memories there, and got a chance to watch a lot of matches. And like I said earlier, uh, I even got trained into wrestling and had some fun doing that. Unfortunately, I'd come from a weekend of matches and my head was hurting and my back was sore, and I was like, I don't know if this is sustainable, but it was a fun ride. But yeah, I would say the WWE was a really cool moment. And I think what's important about that project is that it came in a very uncertain time. Our first project with them was during COVID, and so things aligned. WrestleMania was in Tampa. We started exploring with LEDs and virtual production, which is a similar technology of how Star Wars Mandalorian was shot. And so Florida being wide open, people were flying into the state. And so we got the chance to pitch a virtual production wrestling match. We had a wrestling ring inside a massive 100 by 20 LED volume, and we had Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, and Vince McMahon, the owner at the time, come visit us, and we actually pitched in front of them and showed what could be a virtual production match, and we had the backgrounds change, and it was such a great opportunity. And at the end, Vince McMahon, as he is, says, "Well, how much does this cost?" And so very money driven, and or from a decision making standpoint, and I loved it because that's totally how he was in character. Is seems like how he was in real life, and so that opportunity led to a call 5 hours later. And again, this is WrestleMania weekend, which is a huge event for the WWE. It's their biggest event of the year, and so they called us. They said, "Hey, Bad Bunny is here, and we want to reshoot something inside your LED. And are you available 6 a.m. tomorrow morning?" And that was we got the call at 10 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So as you can imagine, it's chaos.
Yeah.
And so we start calling everybody, waking everybody out of bed. And so it ended up, the project ran smooth. Bad Bunny came in, we shot a scene, and actually aired later that night. So it got out to the market very quick. But what I learned about that moment was that, a lot of really good opportunities happen when there's a bit of a crisis, in a sense, where maybe the client doesn't have the biggest budget, or maybe they're in a pinch where they have to turn something around really quick. And so normally we would want plenty of time to prepare for that production, but that wasn't an option. And so we took advantage of it, and that's how we ended up staying sticky with the WWE and a lot of our partners, is that we get in a time of crisis where maybe they don't have the biggest budget, or maybe they got to turn something around quick. Sports and entertainment move very fast. You're outdated with information that was on the cover yesterday. And so now we see those opportunities as legs. When we talk about networking and building relationships. And it's not so much that first interaction. It's typically from a business development standpoint, it's like, where does that relationship go 3, 4, 5 steps from now, 3, 4, 5 years from now. And so we're always looking at the end, what's on the horizon, not so much in the moment. Because if you look in the moment, you're stressed out. You're like, how are we going to figure this out? Like, you're seeing all the roadblocks. But if you kind of look a little bit ahead, you can see the opportunities. And so, that's always been something that we've kind of stressed. And so we always try to look at an aerial view of something, because when you're stuck, with a tight lens or, cropped in on what's in front of you, sometimes you just can't see what's past it. So.
Well, as we talk about, having your 60-second pitch ready to go at any time is important, because you never know when the opportunity. But you also have to have the business ready to go at any moment of time too. That means you need to have product on hand. You need to have things already laid out, because if you do have those opportunities where they call and say, "Hey, can you be there at 6 o'clock in the morning?" You got to be ready to go, and that's your opportunity to get your foot in the door. So I think that's a great story to kind of illustrate, being ready and ready to go once you do get the call, and building those relationships along the way. What's one last thing you would give, advice that you would give kids? I know you have a young one and one on the way, but you're not talking business with them yet. But what would one piece of advice to a young person that's getting ready to start off in business, what would you say?
Yeah, I'd say, this is a lot of the roots of what our parents teach us is be nice, be nice to people, but also persistent. And we talked at the start, I've received a lot of no's throughout my time, but I've seen the analytics. I've seen the numbers as to like how many times you get no's before you get the yes. And so, there's about 7 to 10 no's before you get the yes. So I no longer look at no's as a dead end. I see it as like, I'm just one step closer to the yes. And so just, as a young entrepreneur, I think that's the thing to focus on is just like, continue to ask the questions, be persistent on things, and be respectful as well, be nice, at the end of the day. And people want to work with people they like. There's no escaping that. I think not only from our business, there's the video side of things, right? The end product. But there's also the experience, how was it like going through that process, the pre-production, the post-production? How was it like on set? Did I have fun? And things like that. And so, I would say those are two of the things to hone in on. Whenever we're on set with a lot of these sports teams, we've got the speaker going, we know who we're interacting with, and we're making them as comfortable as possible, but also, we are, our clients, the representative of the sports team is, we're trying to grow their career too. So a lot of these folks, if you can help them win, and they continue to win and grow in their career, they're only going to call, come back and call you. So, so I know I rambled on a couple different things, but hopefully one of those stick.
No problem. Well, we appreciate you taking the time, Anthony. If you want to get your kids involved, especially with the BizKids pitch competition, follow us on bizkidsusa.org. We have all kinds of programs we can get kids connected. You don't have to be just in Florida to join us. We are nationwide, so you can get online. You can submit a video, so you get your opportunity to do your first video and be in a competition. We do the video BizKids pitch competitions about every quarter, so definitely follow us online to make sure that you don't miss one. But we'd love to have your kids involved and learn about entrepreneurship. Thank you again, Anthony, for being here today, and we will see you guys next time on the Biz Kids podcast.